Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about freedom of speech. I know that this is like a familiar topic, but what are you holding up?
Blooper.
Oh.
He's got freedom of speech.
Yeah. We're talking not specifically about freedom of speech, but about attacks on freedom of speech. It's something that framing we hear all the time, like this is an attack on freedom of speech, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But what I want to talk about today is some of the systemic attacks that have been going on over the last decade or more, probably more than 20 years, but like. So specifically in regards to the internet, the internet has really changed what speech is. Obviously, like we're three guys in our respective homes talking to, 1 to 2 people right now, but potentially millions of people.
And we know we have, irregular, if not, regular listeners in France, because we had coworkers in France. So we have an international audience because 3 guys just who said, let's get online and chit chat.
This is the big stuff. This is something that really wasn't possible 30 years ago or more, especially on the budget that we're talking about. And so, like, there's downsides and there's good upsides to that. The downside being that literally every white guy with a beard between the ages of 25 and 75 has a podcast, and we are not an exception. That's one of the downsides. It's not the only downside. But then there's good things too. Like there are, when we talk about protests politically, like a lot of that organization is able to be done because of internet communication, to make things safer, to make things more organized, to make things clearer. Not that it always goes down that way, but it has the potential. And I don't remember when the net neutrality conversation ended exactly, but net neutrality was a big thing that we talked about for, not we on this show, because I think it actually ended before we started.
Before our time as a pod.
But net neutrality was a U.S. specific policy around internet service providers that helped keep things on level ground, which, that's one way of helping guys who have, $150 for a microphone, as opposed to millions or billions of dollars. And now we're looking at, I only became aware of it very recently, Section 230, which I want to talk about. That will probably be a big bulk of our conversation, because they're trying to get rid of Section 230, which as a shorthand was kind of referred to as the First Amendment of the internet. So I do have a video whenever we're ready, but we can talk a little bit before we get into that. So
so it's been on my radar a long time, because the legal podcasts that I listen to talked in depth and at length and did deep dives on it years ago during Trump 1.0, I guess, because that's the first time when Trump was upset with how he was being spoken about on the internet. He started bringing up 230. We got to get rid of 230. We got to get rid of 230.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about what it is and what it isn't. And I think your clip might set that up. So
it does.
So I won't jump the gun on it. But what it is the only reason we have internet service providers in existence. They will be gone if we remove 230 without having a suitable replacement. And just like everything else that the current movement is, repeal this, repeal that, there's never and here's the health. I have a concept of a plan. Like, you need another plan to remove the plan that's in place. So
yes, yeah. So real quick, why don't we just watch the introduction to this? This video is what kind of introduced me. I mean, I had seen some of what she's responding to, but I want to play this for you real quick, and then we will get into it. It's a 45-minute long video. We're going to just watch her explanation.
Okay, I'm going to go grab some dinner while you watch the video.
Yeah, we're just going to.
230 is a foundational internet law. That's why the core of the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 tech policy agenda is about repealing it. It's known as the law that created the internet. And I did an entire video linked here on the law, breaking down what it says, why it matters, and why the far right and billionaires in power across the political spectrum are so hell-bent on destroying it. Basically, Section 230 is what enables user-generated content on the internet. It's the reason you can leave a negative restaurant review without Yelp being sued out of existence. It's the reason fan communities can exist online. It's why any website can host a comment section. Section 230 is what allows blogs to exist and book reviews to be posted online. It's what allows for forums and chat systems to exist. Section 230 is the sole reason why Wikipedia can function as a volunteer-edited encyclopedia. It's why the Internet Archive can preserve snapshots of the web's history. I could go on, but I literally cannot explain how crucial and important this one small internet law is. And
All right.
of course,
So she gets into it more in depth, but the way that she kind of explains as far and Matthew, you mentioned this when we were talking about it before we started recording. Essentially, like if I went on, if on this podcast, for example, if we, let's say Section 230 doesn't exist, but YouTube still does exist and lets us do this. If we slandered somebody, not only would we be liable for that, YouTube would be liable for that. So therefore, what happens in that process is that YouTube will go, well, our business model doesn't work. And so we can't allow podcasts to exist. Now, obviously, Matthew, you're muted.
I was being respectful of the video, but to go a quick step further,
Yeah.
even like YouTube couldn't exist to show pre-recorded like clips of Star Trek. If
Mhm.
it had that, it couldn't have a comment section because you wouldn't be able allowed to comment on it. Because if you write Bill Shatner's the worst actor that ever lived, he can sue YouTube for defamation for letting
Right.
you make the comment. So it's not,
Right.
it's not just the content couldn't be there. No user-generated comments could safely be there.
Right. And she goes on to say, I mean, it's 45
Yeah.
minutes. I don't want to do all that. But she goes on to say similar things, but like ultimately it allows platforms to not have that level of liability. Now there's still laws, like she mentions CSAM, I think is the acronym, child sexual abuse material. She goes like, that's illegal. You can't, like, we couldn't post that on YouTube because that's a crime. Now YouTube, if we posted something like that on YouTube, it may take them a little bit to take it down and to report us. Like it may go up for 20 minutes or whatever their system would allow.
Whatever the system, yeah.
But it ultimately, and although their system's probably smart enough now that it wouldn't even go up in the first place, but rewind to the early days of YouTube when they didn't have AI and all of the moderation that they have. But there are limits. It's not saying that it's completely unlimited. And that is, she's responding to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who many people will know as an actor from 500 Days of Summer. He was kind of Robin in the last Christopher Nolan Batman movie.
Kind of Robin.
And she kind of talks about, he did this big thing in front of Congress about repealing Section 230. And if I'm being honest, I would just assume that he's ignorant about it, not that he's lying.
Yeah, he just was an actor, and they gave him a script because everything
Yeah.
he said was Republican talking points. None
Yeah.
of it was accurate.
Yeah, and so like there is a level to which I had seen some of his clips, and then this came up in my feed, but other than his clips, I knew nothing about it. And so to me, I was like, we need to talk about it because it's so, like so many other things. When, like, originally when Jenny McCarthy was talking about, she was one of the first big celebrities to talk about vaccine issues, and like you weren't hearing the counterpoint, right? And the average person may not be hearing the smart move on this, and they're going, well, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's talking about how it's allowing CSAM online, and it's like, no, that's illegal. That's still not allowed on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any of those other things. And there's a whole bunch of other things that are illegal that you can't do, right? But what it, ultimately back to what you said, Matthew, is like, if you said William Shatner's a shitty actor, or we slander somebody, it wouldn't just hold us liable. Okay, you shut off your camera,
Okay.
but you did not mute your microphone.
You got it backwards.
Yeah.
You shut the wrong thing off.
Well,
Yep.
I thought she was going to walk in here. So
Oh, naked?
Again,
Because we can't do
no.
that.
You're
but
also
so-
correct, because that is a crime. Good point. No,
Yeah.
what's frustrating about Section 230 and also DMCA is that it's very much about the interpretation of a very complicated process. And DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, is often used to silence criticism even when it is allowed by Section 230 in a way that can still suppress information in the spaces that we, like reactionary content, the spaces that we occupy. It's some of the same issues that creators are facing, but it's also some of the same issues that the victims are facing.
Right. Well, and she mentions not specifically DMCA, but she mentions that, like, because initially, if you watch Joseph Gordon-Levitt's initial statement, he says, you know, I want 100% of senators to vote to repeal this. Like he has, there's no nuance. And then when he got a backlash online, he responded, and she's responding in addition to his response. And she said, and he starts saying, you know, like, oh, I want them to fix it and make it better. And she's like, but you didn't say that. And, you know, like, it also has been adjusted. Sometimes adjusting, you know, like in her example that she gave, when they adjusted it, and I'm going to totally space, but it's the, it was part of the law. She mentions it a bunch, and I don't remember.
Fair use?
No, it's the law that made like prostitution count as sex trafficking. Like that one that like
not RICO.
No, Foster
Grant. No, it's not
Foster. I don't know. Foster Cessna.
I don't know this law.
Cessna Foster. I had it backwards. I was close though, right? Cessna Foster. Oh, maybe that's not right.
There goes that loud keyboard.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's so they made Foster. Yeah, the Cessna
they fostered
Foster
an environment.
It's a legal doctrine or statute known as Cessna Foster law. The result indicates several distinct, unrelated cases involving a Cessna aircraft or Foster personal firm. And okay, maybe I pulled the wrong thing altogether. I thought it was
Because the only thing I know that the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, was one of the things that plugged holes that that it didn't consider. Like, it didn't talk about copyright material if that wasn't in its worldview. So there were a couple of court cases. Then DMCA helped plug some of those holes. Maybe not in a way that everyone likes, but it plugged some of those holes in a way, at least clearly, more clearly.
And that's why I was mentioning it really is more about interpretation, because, for example, YouTube will immediately side with the original creator's content, especially if they're the ones flagging the reactionary video content, and they will pull it off the site. And this is very commonly used to suppress criticism or even to bury certain information so that it's not as easily found, or worse, so that my video of the same content can be successful. And that's just how YouTube chooses to work with DMCA, is they're going to side with the original creator 99% of the time,
because the original creator has more money to sue them.
Usually,
it's the safer thing to do.
It
with the person
and from a legal standpoint, I understand it, but rarely in the cases that I've watched video essays on or done research on my own, rarely in those scenarios is this a situation where there was actual slander or anything like that.
If the person getting their content taken down had enough money to fight back, they would win the case, but they don't have $1 million to fight back, so they can't.
Okay, I found it. It's
goody.
Fosta Sesta. and it's an acronym. It's an
Lost
acronym.
the Cessna.
So I was real close, you know.
One's an airplane. That's close.
Yeah, well, and
Right.
Fosta Cessna, whatever, Fosta Cessna was a thing, which is like crazy too. But Fosta Cesta is the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act and Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, which was signed in
That's an acronym.
on April 11th, 2018. And amended Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to hold the internet platforms liable for third-party content facilitating sex trafficking. So they were talking about things like, here it says, where did I see it? Backpage.com.
Yeah. Somebody said
offering-
saying Section 230 was not meant to mean that you can host child porn and say it's not your fault.
Right. That is true, but what this law was overbroad is what I think that she mentions, and I've heard a lot. I've actually heard more about this than I have about Section 230, because yes, you're right about child porn, but like also it made all advertisement of any kind of illegal sex activity, like the site could get shut down essentially. So like if you were like, hey, for $230, I'll come over to your house, and we talked about it a few weeks ago more with drugs, but like those magic words where you don't actually ask for the thing, but you say what you need. Well, they basically outlawed that on those websites.
I had a buddy who worked for a website that like offered escort services, and his job was policing pictures to make sure like no nipples showed, like that was like as far as you could go, and policing the text to make sure that they didn't step over the line in the euphemisms of what they were saying.
Oh yeah,
like like he had a list of things that the police won't let you say this the courts won't let you say this anymore. So like he would tell people how to remove things before it could go live. How far could they push the line?
Yeah.
To the point where it's hard for me to remember his last name, because on Facebook he changed his name. So he wouldn't be using his real name when he talks about stuff. And it's like I have to remember, why did he and his brother have different last names? Oh, yeah, 3 jobs ago, he worked this place.
But yeah, so the point is that like they will, that even that law, which is sold to people for, like that the people were told like this is going to help us stop child pornography, this is going to help us stop sex trafficking. And yes, it probably did that as well, but it also forced a lot of stuff underground. She mentions that now is more dangerous. Like sex trafficking in a lot of ways is worse because of it. Because
like most laws, it's impossible to write a perfect law. So most laws can be, which if you have a good court system, they interpret it correctly, and that's what fixes the law, not the letter of the law, but the court interpretation.
Right.
When our courts don't work properly, you don't get good interpretations.
Right.
Yeah.
And she and I think the way that has been explained is like, by calling everything that's technically a sex crime, sex trafficking, you are making, like peeing in public is a sex crime. Like you get on a sex, and I get that. Maybe it depends on where.
Yeah, it's like there was an old parable about like 2 of the King's Guard, go out into town on their afternoon off, and they get drunk, and they're on the way back, and they realize they're 2 hours past curfew, and they're like, what's the punishment for being past curfew? It's like execution. Shit. What's the crime if we kill the king? Execution. Well,
yeah.
and it's a thing, like if you're going to punish someone, the most fierce punishment, then what's their initiative to come peacefully or not commit? Like if you say that rape is the same punishment as murder, the smart rapist murders his victim because it's the same punishment.
Yeah.
And I'm less likely to be caught because there's no witness now. Like when you I'm going to make the punishment as severe as I can, the person who is intentionally committing the crime might as well commit a worse crime because you've already made the punishment so bad it's not a worse punishment. So yeah, you're going to if you overly punish something, you're going to inherently make it worse because people who are going to break the law anyway break more laws now, because why not? There's no reason not to.
Right. And again, like being late for curfew should be, if that was like a ticketable offense, that would be, like, okay, well, I'll pay the fine as opposed to killing the king.
Dock us a week's pay. I'm not going to kill the king for that, but you're going to execute me. I might as well try to kill the king because if I'm successful, I don't get punished.
Yeah.
And right, I don't get put to death anyway.
So that's part of like, you know, there's they can't repeal our
It's more
freedom
than
of
one law
speech.
that needs to get reworked. You need to
They-
have 3 or 4 different
Yeah,
laws that have
sure.
played together. Need to
But
be reworked.
also they need to, like, in order for them to repeal our freedom of speech, they need to do it piecemeal. You can't just do it overall. You have to do it in all these little subtle ways that are I wanted to say sinister, but that's not the right word. When it's like sneaky, like I don't know.
Disingenuous.
Yeah,
But-
like
But the other side is it to assume the most positive intent. If you
Yeah.
want to, if you have to eliminate some freedom of speech to protect people, like threats and calls to violence and hate speech,
Mhm.
you do want to be as surgical as possible and
Yeah.
eliminate as
Yeah.
small as possible. The problem is, no matter how small you do it, some lawyer, some
Yeah.
prosecutor, some area is going to find a way to abuse it and
Fair.
stretch it to where they want it to be.
right.
So it's impossible
So-
to ever get perfect laws.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I also I want to give Joseph Gordon-Levitt as much of the as the benefit of the doubt as possible, because I don't think he's
You were about to say
I
give him as much
I think he's
shit
just
as I
reading a
want
script
to.
because he
I
got
heard that.
everything historical about
Yeah.
it wrong. He
Yeah.
just said what
Yeah.
the right wing talking points are, and,
Yeah.
and I say right wing because that's the version he did. The
Yeah.
left wing is against it too, but with not all of it. I mean, the extreme left
yeah.
Yeah.
with different talking points that are wrong, that are
Right,
not
right.
accurate. So he
And-
just happened to have the Republican ones that were not accurate.
He had the Heritage Foundation
Yeah.
talking points, specific talking points, and the stuff that was in Project 2025. And so when you look at that, it's like, I will give Joseph Gordon-Levitt some benefit of the doubt and just say he's probably dumb, he's probably misinformed, whatever. Not that I think
He's just a
outright
spokesperson.
lying.
It's not his policy. He's just the
But I-
spokesperson.
Yeah,
But
and-
I can't give the
Because
Heritage
it was Amy
Foundation too
Schumer
much
before
credit.
it was him.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy Schumer classically was the first person doing things saying revoke
Yeah,
it.
They're useful idiots, right? Like, and not to call
Yeah.
them idiots, that's the term, right? But
Yeah,
like,
yeah. They're
they
not
are
part of my comedy troupe. They're not Raleigh's Village Idiots.
no.
So and the larger issue isn't that he did or didn't know what he's saying. I draw more concern with that there's at his level of stardom and recognition, he's not making every decision of what he does on his own. He
Right.
has an agent, he has a publicist, he has a media team. So all of them signed off on that too. So it
Well, yeah,
wasn't just
potentially, or
Right,
one
potentially.
person,
So-
whether it was him or one of them, strong armed it through and made the others go along.
Yeah.
We don't know if
Yeah.
everyone was
Very
lockstep
true.
necessarily.
So
Yeah.
so
the
I
final
become
voice
more
won.
Yeah, I become more suspect with, like Mike just said, he's just a useful mouthpiece. The real evil is other folks. And I think the same thing with Miller. He's the real freaking evil, but we just don't see him on TV that much because
Yeah, well-
Miller's more busy doing other evil shit.
Well, also he's not charismatic or good looking.
No,
Like I don't remember who it was, but
he
somebody
looks like
was
freaking
saying
Dracula.
someone was saying that if Pete Hegseth had Stephen Miller's brain, he'd be undefeatable. He'd be evil, undefeatable, but he'd be, Pete Hegseth's a good-looking dude who's, a not a particularly smart person and always a particularly drunk person. Something I wouldn't be able to say without Section 230.
Without Section 230.
But yeah, anyway, so back to what she gets into also the detail. Joseph Gordon-Levitt says something along the lines of about how like this, allow the algorithms are there kind of filtering, and she's like, the algorithms are more refined than they were, but they've always been there to some degree. Like the only
Yeah.
thing that isn't like algorithmic would be like a Google Drive, like communicating through Google Drive or DM, not like like anything else that is
And even
moderated.
those are somewhat probably
right.
algorithmically fed and or used to
Yeah.
feed it. So
And she gets into a point, and we can. I don't want to like argue that everything she says is right, because she is the only person I've seen talk about it with sources. So like
Okay.
I'm taking it with as more of a fact
I
than
only
Joseph
watched
Gordon.
about a third of her video, but everything she said aligned with everything I heard lawyers say about it
Okay.
on legal
Fair.
podcasts.
That,
So
and
I didn't hear
think
everything she said, but
Yeah.
she was I stopped listening at one point because I was like, okay, she seems to be spot on. She's covered everything I
Yeah.
need to hear.
And she's, from what I know about her, she's a journalist, not a pundit, and she's more thorough. She's very thorough in her work. But she talks
What was
about
her name?
how
I don't know if we said her name. We keep talking about her.
Taylor Lorenz,
Taylor.
who kind of got a little more notoriety back in the summer because she was the one who posted the article about the lefties that were taking PAC money or whatever. But anyway, so she mentions,
but she's a real investigational journalist.
Yeah.
Without ties to any
Right.
Overlords who are controlling what she says. She's not a mouthpiece for anybody.
Right. She I think she makes most of her money through like Substack and Patreon.
Yeah. So
like,
she's a true independent, which doesn't make her accurate, but it gets rid of she's towing a company line or this line. She's right or wrong on her own. And I was like, to me, for as much as my loyal listeners trust me, she matched everything that I've heard lawyers talk about on this topic on podcasts dealing with the topic.
Well, and she provides sources. They're quick, but if you pause, you can get your sources. Yeah. And so, like, I will always respect that because you can, it doesn't mean it's right, but you can at least go check it out. Whereas, Joseph Gordon-Levitt in his speech does not cite anything, right? But what she's talking about at one point.
Well, it's hard to cite Project 2025 when it's 2026 already.
Yeah,
true.
It sounds
it's fear-mongery bullshit, which is the conservative ways. You need to be afraid of something that we're going to tell you to be afraid of.
Yeah.
You need to be afraid of sex trafficking children.
Yeah.
I mean, you should, but...
Yeah.
But not when I make a comment on Facebook.
So she does get into a corporate side of things about how it's affected, the reason why corporations are backing it, like big corporations, and essentially companies like Google and Amazon and YouTube is owned by Google, and these companies have kind of maxed out where they can max out, right? And ultimately the way that for them to grow is to destroy the little guys. And now the way for them to destroy the little guys is to make it incapable. Like they basically said, like if Section 230 gets repealed, YouTube has the money and algorithm to make sure that everything that's a problem goes away.
Yep.
Whereas like I don't know what, like a little website, like Reddit's not little. I don't know, like a little version of Nebula. Nebula's a channel that are like a website that provides little videos. They don't have the resources to filter content the way, like, oh, that person said something that might be. YouTube absolutely can do it. And so like YouTube,
Yeah, but they'll and the way they'll do it though is by
getting rid of
casting
comments
way too wide a net.
Yeah.
I mean, already, like I had a video for Triangle Free Thought that was a doctor debunking vaccine myths, and they took it down because there's vaccine myths in it. I'm like, I think it's did anyone watch this? Because it's debunking the myths. So yes, we say them because you have to say the thing and then say it's not true. You can't just say something's not true. Can't tell you what it is. And they wrote back, we reviewed it. It's myths. And we're back saying, you are fucking liars. No fucking human watched my video because it's so fucking clear that it's not what you're saying, what it is. You guys suck shit. And they somehow did not re-review it after that. But also, like, I know that podcasts have had that problem, and they have 10,000 listeners write in and complain to YouTube, and they get it overturned. We don't have 10,000 people following our page to be able to overturn it.
But if you want to, you just hit like and subscribe, and you could be part of
the Triangle Free Thought page that I was talking about. So yeah.
So you want me to kick him?
So anyway, so the point being that like they will make it impossible for little platforms like ours to get up out of that, but they'll also make it impossible for little, Nebula might have, let's say Nebula has 1 million users. I don't know what they have, but Nebula is a bunch of content creators on YouTube who are like, we don't want their algorithm to manage everything for us. We want to offer our viewers something. And there's like 10 to 15 YouTubers that might each have, 1 million people going and making a subscription model, right? And I know it's separate from Patreon, right? So it's a small thing. Ultimately, like that is not a sustainable option. That will go away. And
Well, like
they're
live chat during a video would go away just because YouTube can't edit that after the fact, and they don't want you to say anything that you can't that could be said. So there'd be no live chat.
Unless the AI
risky.
gets that good at filtering, like
yeah. Well, but it'd be easier for them just to blitz it than to waste time and money.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
like old review sites would be gone. Like she mentions like Yelp and stuff like that and Google reviews. That would be useless because it'd be only positive reviews, because any negative review would have to be taken down by the filter just in case.
I remember when the YouTube the thumbs down button got hidden. Like it made it even difficult if you're just trying to watch a video on how to fix your faucet. Like you can't easily see that this has a lot of downvotes, so clearly it sucks.
Yeah.
You have filters like that on sites like Reddit, but for videos, it was a great way to see something was just crap. And without it, you have to use a tool that reads the back end to be able to see that now. And I mean, I use it. I deployed the script so that I can see it again, but it's not publicly reported.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that's it's also, while it's corporate and it's these other things, it's also going to really inhibit the ability to resist and to all those things that freedom of speech were made for, right? Like if you say fuck ICE, you're gone off the internet, not secreted away yet.
Maybe both.
Yet. And that is part of the reason, right? Like that, I know that there may be people denying it, but like it's one of those half-hearted denials now, like you know, like everything else that they're doing. Like, sure, we're going to deny it just because it's habit now, but nobody believes it, even the people who are voting for it, you know.
Yep.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually believes it.
Oh, right. And Spider-Man.
JG, no, he's not Spider-Man.
Oh, not Spider-Man. What was the superhero?
He was almost Robin.
He was kind
of at the very
Robin.
end. He's like, my legal name is Dickless Grayson.
No, he said
Robin.
no. His
legal name is Robin.
My middle name's Robin.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we were like, it was that might be the worst part of the entire trilogy.
It left him the cave.
He wasn't bad in the movie, but that one part was bad. But like it will also mean that like if you want to talk about the Epstein files and Trump, you will not, be able to speculate on, like, oh, we called him a pedophile. Well, technically they were all over 13, so that's a hebephile, slander. Like, even though, like those things,
But even calling him, it is slander per se, or defamation per se. If you accuse someone of something horribly immoral or criminal without it being proven true.
Yeah.
Like if you can't prove it's true, like there's some things like saying, if I say, oh, my brother is a shiny-headed bald hack who doesn't know a football team if it bit him on his ass, there's nothing. That's my opinion, and that's not slander. Or if he could try to prove it is, but it's just an opinion. But once you say, and he committed this crime, that's automatically he's in the right, and I have to, in this case, I'm guilty until I can prove that what I said is actually true, and he is guilty of that crime. So that's so it's already an illegal thing to say, and that's fine, but it shouldn't be illegal for Facebook for me to say it, or for Twitter or Threads or whatever thing. They shouldn't be liable because they didn't monitor every single thing said by every single person in every single place.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be
there's always a way around their AI. Like in TikTok, you can't say, I can't say you're an idiot to one of my fellow comedians who's an idiot, unless I use an O with an umlaut instead of a regular O, and then the AI doesn't read it properly, and it's fine.
Yeah.
You can swap a letter out, and it's they can't say kill, but you can say unalive.
Yeah.
It's easy to fool it.
Yeah. And before the Section 230 stuff, there 4 or 5 years ago, when a lot of the Alex Jones, when Alex Jones was in the process of being deplatformed, there was a lot of talk on some of the pundits that I watched were talking about one of the people talking him saying I have freedom of speech, and and saying and they were saying, even though I don't like Alex Jones, a lot of people were, this is outside the Sandy Hook stuff, right? It was like, even though I don't like Alex Jones, I don't like Steven Crowder, I don't like these people, I don't want them to be deplatformed completely based on like Alex Jones has been found guilty of a crime, right? So it's separate. But at the time, it had not been the case, and they're like, we don't want YouTube arbitrating what is morally right or wrong, and the way that they were going to allow for that, and that was almost more in the other direction, was to make it a public utility, which is kind of like, okay, like you can on YouTube can say like, oh, our terms of service say that you're not allowed to show boobs, even though you're allowed to show boobs on the internet. It's part of their terms of service. It's against the law, right? Or against YouTube's terms of service. So it's not a crime thing.
Not a crime, but they can.
But they can say that because they have
do whatever they want to do.
Right. They wouldn't be able to control the terms of service in the same way. Just like if, like, back to the landline phones, I could call someone. Let's say when homosexuality was a crime, I could call another gay person and arrange to be gay with them. I am wording it that way to be funny and on purpose. But like you could do things like that are technically crimes, and still they don't have
and the phone company wasn't liable for it. Right.
And so they were saying, like, in order to protect them even further from a Alex Jones, screwing shit up, like and to make it so like we're not deplatforming because of the vaccine thing you said earlier, or I think a lot of this was in the COVID, everybody talking about how we can talk about COVID and how we can't talk about COVID. They're like, the solution, and I don't know that this is correct, that this is the right solution, but one of the proposed ideas was making them public utilities, and
treat them like, and not make them. They're still private companies, but treat them as treat the them public square. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Since they were all claiming that they were, right? Like, they're all kind of like, well, use us like the public square. And it's like, well, the public square, the police come get you. The public square doesn't eject you. Like, the mayor doesn't come and go, get out of the public square. The police come. And so, like, they were saying, this is how we should handle it. That is kind of the exact opposite direction of getting rid of Section 230. And so, like, and so I'm not so sure that that's the solution, but I really think getting rid of Section 230 is dangerous.
Yeah. And the way I think I heard it put once was like, Section 230 says, look at an online platform as a bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A bookstore has a right to decide what books they do and don't sell.
Yep.
And so they can have their TOS in the bookstore. We don't carry this. We do carry this. We don't let you have this.
Yep.
But at the same time, you do not think that Mr. Barnes and Mr. Noble read every word of every book and are standing by all the content in all those books, because they didn't. And and you may say that, they won't let books they know are child pornography be in there, but they will let Lolita be in there, because even though it deals with underage sex, it's a classic of literature, not pornography.
Yeah.
And
some bookstores will have Mein Kampf, and like Mein Kampf is a historical text. I don't want it. I don't really want to read it, but I understand.
But
I understand that
you might
like
be a college student who needs to buy a copy of it because you're studying it in school.
Yeah.
And it's treating like that. We acknowledge that you're a private company and you can do some level of monitoring.
Yeah,
but you're not legally required to be the source of monitoring things. And you're not responsible for if someone doesn't like one of the books in the bookstore. Don't buy the book. You can't. You can protest. You can say, I'm not on X because I don't like the content that's on X anymore. But I didn't go to the district attorney and say, hey, you should prosecute X.
Yeah. And if I text you guys later and go, hey, let's go buy drugs, like AT&T isn't getting sued for
facilitating a drug
deal. They can be subpoenaed, and that's about it.
Yeah,
but you have to be charged with a crime first.
Yeah,
And I'd be
Nimrod
fine.
and
YouTube follows in that same, all of these internet platforms fall into that same category, right? You can subpoena. They did it with AOL. What about Nimrod? I know that's
so
Mikey.
Mr. Nimrod in the chat, two things real fast. One, he offered you Mike his copy of Mein Kampf if you want to borrow it. But he also sent a link to an X tweet that says the Department of Homeland Security has sent legal requests to Google, Reddit, Meta, and Discord for the names, email addresses, telephone numbers, and any identifying data of accounts that track and criticize ICE. So like they're already trying to get that information, according to that news break.
Yeah.
That's from Raw's Alerts.
Thank you, Mikey. I do not want to borrow your copy. I will say, a friend of mine, we were helping them move a few months ago, and we were unloading their books, and I found a tattered version of Mein Kampf, and I was like, "Oh, I got some light reading over here, huh?" And he goes, "A coworker gave it to me," and I said, Sure. Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, you voted for the guy, so like, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "You voted for Trump, right?" And he goes, "That's not the same thing." Like,
he has it on his bedside, reportedly.
Yeah.
It was gifted to me by a very close friend.
Who's okay? So
I'm purposely not using a full name.
Who's
one of the guys who was in our comedy troupe? His running gag was wanting to celebrate Kristallnacht during our shows, and when they did Anne Frank at the theater, he asked if he can have the Nazi flag for decorations for the party, and his wife is like, no, you can. He goes, just as decoration for the party, and his wife is like, no.
The reason I was wondering though is because we refer to one of my uncles as UJ or Udge.
Well, that's what the U is for.
Okay.
It may be the same name.
Yeah. And one of your children's names is the other.
Oh, no, that's not one of my children's names. One of the other J names. So it's right. One time in the show, we had the suggestion from an audience of something you do this time of year. And it was like the winter season. And someone said office holiday parties. And so Romney goes out and she like is plastering something on an imaginary fourth wall. This person comes out and she goes, "Well, Mr. Smithers, I put the banner up for the party." And he goes, "Happy Kristallnacht. Looks good." And it was literally on November 9th. Like he was giddy about it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not watching live and you're not a patron, you just missed a bunch of things that you could
that only Mr. Nimrod in the chat of the live got to hear.
Or that patrons can watch, but even
$10 patrons, I think.
Even the patrons would only be able to get that because of Section 230. It would not be offered at all. It would have just
actually. It says on the thing 7 watching now, so people who are not chatting in the chat who are exposed to this. Hey, Logan, I hope you're watching.
He could be. He might have gotten. I hope he's not. I could hear him get home about 25 minutes ago.
It just went down to 6.
Lesson.
Maybe he heard you.
Yeah.
Well, it went from 6 to 7, and when I said it, and then back to 6.
6,
so somebody
7.
6, 7.
Stop.
You could not hear 6, 7 without 230 because it would be banned.
One day, I forget what it was, but it was during the height of 6, 7, and Logan and his cousins doing the 6, 7 thing. And there was something that came on about September 11th, and I went 9/11, and they were all like. So anyway, should we start wrapping things up?
Oh, it's 7:15. 7:15.
Yeah.
It's how you don't have kids.
Yeah, so I think my final takeaway is we would not have the internet as we know it, good or bad, without Section 230.
Right.
Correct.
Sure, it's not perfect, and maybe it's time to be. It's 30 years old. It's 30 years old. It's 30 years and 1 week as of this recording. So as of most people hearing it, it'd be 30 years and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was like the first week of February, 30 years ago that it was passed, right? So it's been reinterpreted through different court cases. So it's not just what the words that are written. It's always a danger of looking up a law and reading it. Unless you read every court interpretation, you don't know what the current interpretation of the law is. You can't just quote the word and say, this is what the word means, because a court has already done that in some cases. But let us say that even if the people on the left and the people on the right who think it's not good want to remove it, it cannot be removed without destroying the entire internet, without a well thought out, well executed, well designed replacement
Yes.
that does a similar thing, that is meant to
Right.
do the same thing, just without whatever problems there might be, if they're true problems. If the problem is Google's not making enough money, or ExxonMobil doesn't want you to say that they're destroying the environment, those aren't, to me, good reasons to repeal or change it.
Right. And conservatives, if you're in favor of getting rid of it and repealing it, please keep in mind that you guys don't have a great history. And I was on this boat when it came to Iraq, of getting rid of one thing that needs to be fixed without having the worthy replacement ready to go. Like, this is a thing that we, like, you don't have a backup plan. You just are like, okay, that's bad, I need to get rid of that. And now there's a power vacuum. Now there's a problem, like a different problem.
It's easy to destroy. It's hard
Mhm.
to create. You can repeal a law easily if you have the political will to do it. Creating a law that replaces it and does the same job and patches the holes properly is not
Yeah.
as easy,
Right.
especially in today's environment where you can't get, a bipartisan bill, to save your life.
Well,
Yeah.
yes. And then there's also the situation that so much about how media and content is made and is distributed has changed. So just saying 230 bad, no more, doesn't solve it just as much as keeping it doesn't solve it. It really does need to be a well thought out, well executed, as neutral as possible solution that keeps as much money and influence out of it. And also, content is not news and news is not content, but it can be both. That's a
Right.
big
That's
part,
a whole
I think,
other
of the
podcast
challenge
that we
of
need
it.
to. News needs to stop being entertainment is a whole
Yeah.
other podcast.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So
So that being said, I want to thank Mr. Nimrod, who is probably the finest person in this country, for sticking with us and being in the chat, and for other reasons. I love the man. Yeah, he also is my best friend. But besides those reasons, thank you, Mr. Nimrod, and the other people watching now who aren't chatting. I like you too, just not as much. Um, and those of you who would like to chat, all you need to do is make sure you subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on YouTube and click the notification bell so that you'll know when we go live. And sometimes we'll go live different times. Like, I was talking to a potential guest for like next week or maybe the week after, and he would probably need us to go live a half an hour early so he'd be done in time for his clients, because he's a therapist and he's got clients. And he's on the West Coast, so his time is different than ours, so he can get free, but a little earlier. So maybe we go live at 6 on the East Coast. How would you know that? Click the notification bell. Make
Yeah.
sure to make sure it comes up in your feed. Make sure you like our videos when you watch them. Make sure you comment. Just share your opinion. Section 230 will let you do it. The more you do that on our videos and on our shorts, the more the algorithm will push it to you, so you know when there is new content. And that's all I got to say about that. 230.
2:30. So if you would like to be part of our if you'd like to help us in another way, you can be part of our patrons by going to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, where you can join the ranks of these fine all fellows. I would say ladies and gentlemen, but it's all men so far. But you could be the first woman if you're a woman. And you can, there's 4 options for you on there. There's the $0 option, which just gets you the show normally, but it helps us to like look a little better on Patreon. There's the $1 option, which is $1 a month, not $1 an episode, and that gets us that gets you onto that list, and it gets you the episodes on Mondays instead of Fridays. There's the $3, which gets you a little bit of extra content, like that stuff that I cut out that Matthew was mentioning, or that when I said that earlier. That's all the $3 content. And if you want the $10 content,
That might be $10 content. One of them might be 3, one of them might be 10. You may have to think about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, just err on the side of $10. It's $2.50 a week. And then you can get, not only will you get all of that content, but you will also get the intro, which, one sometimes that is Matthew recording his lines for our short film, and sometimes it's us talking about like somewhat subject adjacent things. Well, like, okay, let's burn this information before we go on and talk about the real thing,
Mhm.
and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just save it for the show. But like that, there's always some bonus content at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's per month, not per episode. So that's $1 a month is 25 cents a week, and that I mean,
That's like feeding a kid in Africa. It's worth it.
all right. So yeah, thank you all very much, Matthew. Any last thoughts?
I just want to thank you all for sticking with us to talk about the big stuff. You have complete freedom of speech as long as it's funny. We've always had that rule.